On the morning of July 29, 1981, the world held its breath. The aging Queen Mother Elizabeth was seated comfortably in her elegant sitting room at Clarence House. In front of her, the television flickered, broadcasting the grand spectacle of Prince Charles marrying Lady Diana Spencer, a moment many saw as a true fairy tale. Yet, as the nation celebrated, the woman at the heart of Britain watched with narrowed eyes. Her 81-year-old face showed no sign of affection or happiness. Instead, beneath her calm, composed exterior, a cold and consuming rage simmered, a fury that had been burning long before the world even imagined this royal wedding. As millions cheered for what appeared to be a perfect union, the Queen Mother was quietly nursing plans driven by vengeance. This wasn't just about a simple mismatch or a case of mild dislike. To her, Diana had become the focus of a relentless personal vendetta, one that would stretch over the next 20 years, shaping one of the most heartbreaking stories in royal history. But what most people didn't realize is that this bitterness went much deeper than the day Charles's engagement was announced. The seed of resentment was planted half a century ago, a seed sown in betrayal during the turbulent year of 1936. This was the start of a rift that would cast a shadow over the royal family for generations. 1936 became known as the year of the Spencer betrayal, the true origin of the Queen Mother's simmering hatred. To truly understand the depth of her animosity towards Diana, we need to travel back to those seismic events of 1936, a year when the very foundations of the British monarchy shook. That year, King Edward VIII abdicated the throne for love, choosing to marry Wallis Simpson, a twice-divorced American. This act didn't just change the line of royal succession. It thrust the reluctant Duke of York and his wife, Elizabeth, into the public eye, crowning them as King George VI and Queen Consort. But behind the familiar palace intrigue is a little-known story, one that centers on Diana's lineage. Diana's grandfather, Earl Spencer, was far more than a bystander. As a trusted confidant of Edward VIII, he was at the very center of the crisis. When the monarchy faced its darkest hour, the royal family relied on steadfast allies among the aristocracy, like Earl Spencer, to help bridge the chaos and secure the reign of King George VI. Earl Spencer solemnly pledged his allegiance, but when loyalty truly mattered, he turned his back. Instead of supporting the new king, Earl Spencer publicly defended Edward VIII's right to marry Wallis Simpson and even questioned George VI's suitability to rule. Newspaper headlines across the nation shouted his defiance, sending shockwaves through Britain and nearly bringing the monarchy to collapse. This act of betrayal was not forgotten, and its bitterness would echo through the generations. From that moment, the future Queen Mother held a lasting grudge against the Spencer family. To her, their actions were almost an act of outright treason, not just against the royal institution, but against her personally. Many years later, she would confide in her daughter, Queen Elizabeth II, insisting that the Spencers could never be trusted. They always put themselves first, never the monarchy. "Trust a Spencer at your peril," she warned. When Diana Spencer stepped into the royal spotlight as Prince Charles's fiancée nearly 50 years later, the Queen Mother couldn't escape the memories of the past. To her, old wounds threatened to reopen, and history seemed ready to repeat itself. But there was something much more personal fueling her disdain, a quiet, simmering envy. By 1981, Queen Mother Elizabeth had already become Britain's most beloved royal, celebrated as the steadfast matriarch who guided the nation through the chaos of war. She was seen as the country's adored grandmother, a symbol of strength and tradition. Then everything changed. Suddenly a new presence emerged, young, radiant Diana, just 19, who quickly captured the public's imagination. Almost overnight, the People's Princess began stealing headlines and winning hearts. Her surge in popularity cast a long shadow, even over the Queen Mother's once unrivaled position in the monarchy. Diana was celebrated by the media as a breath of fresh air in the monarchy's stuffy halls, a young woman who seemed to bring new life wherever she went. The nation was quickly enchanted by her modern sense of style, her youthful vulnerability, and the genuine warmth she showed in public. But behind the happy headlines, a single remark ignited deep resentment in the heart of the Queen Mother. At Diana's very first official appearance, a journalist made a famous remark. "At last, the royal family has welcomed someone people can truly relate to, someone authentic, modern, and connected to the struggles of ordinary Britons." The message struck a nerve. It suggested that the Queen Mother and her whole generation belonged to a distant, irrelevant past. Privately, her anger flared. Venting to her trusted lady-in-waiting, she said, "For half a century, I have dedicated my life to this country. I kept the monarchy standing through wartime chaos. And now they choose this inexperienced girl whose only achievement is marrying my grandson." The warmth that once made the Queen Mother beloved began to fade, replaced by a cold undercurrent of spite. Soon the stage was set for a campaign of subtle sabotage. The plot took its first careful steps in August 1981, behind the closed doors of the palace just as Diana and Charles returned from their honeymoon. The briefings had begun. While Charles and Diana sailed the seas on the royal yacht Britannia, celebrating the first days of their marriage, the Queen Mother remained firmly rooted at Clarence House, but she wasn't content to just observe from a distance. Instead, she quietly set out to influence opinions inside the palace, starting with her own grandson. Through a series of discreet, carefully planned meetings, she began to chip away at Diana's reputation, one quiet warning at a time. "Charles, you must stand your ground with Diana. She's so young and her impulse will be to push for change, but tradition is important. The monarchy lasts because of it," she'd say in soft, measured voices. "I worry about Diana's temperament. She seems very sensitive, maybe even unstable. She will need to be shown how real royal duty works." The Queen Mother warned Charles that Diana's growing fame in the press was a risky path, one that threatened the core values of the family. She must understand it is not about individual glory, but a lifelong commitment to service and sacrifice. She insisted. Little by little, doubts began to grow in Charles's mind, doubts that would slowly turn into mistrust and distance. Yet through it all, Diana herself was always the true quarry. The Queen Mother didn't start her campaign with grand announcements. Instead, she chose subtle, calculated, small actions meant to quietly chip away at Diana's confidence and sense of belonging. At Diana's very first family gathering after her honeymoon, the Queen Mother set her plan into motion. She placed Diana at the children's table, offering an icy smile and saying, "Perhaps you'll feel more comfortable among the younger relatives." Later, when Diana tried to share her thoughts about future royal duties, she was quickly dismissed. The Queen Mother said simply, "My dear, you really lack the experience for this. Best leave such matters to those of us who understand the intricacies," the Queen Mother insisted, shutting down Diana's enthusiasm as she firmly closed the door. But her criticisms didn't end there. The Queen Mother even turned her attention to Diana's appearance. She remarked with a hint of disdain, "What a tall girl. I do hope she doesn't overshadow Charles in photographs. Such things can be so harmful to the image of the monarchy." While these comments may have seemed minor at first, they merely set the stage for what was to come. Between 1982 and 1985, the Queen Mother's campaign became a masterclass in subtle cruelty. She rarely delivered a direct attack that might draw public reproach. Instead, she preferred quieter tactics, subtle actions that left no visible mark, but gradually created isolation, confusion, and a slow erosion of confidence. It was a calculated psychological siege designed to make Diana feel alone, even in a house full of people. At dinners with the extended royal family, the Queen Mother would skillfully draw everyone into lively conversation, everyone except Diana. The young princess often found herself sitting in awkward silence as laughter and stories flowed all around her. Whenever Diana tried to join the conversation, eager to share her thoughts on royal duties, the Queen Mother would offer a patronizing compliment. She would reply, "What a charmingly innocent view," a phrase that sounded like praise, but was thick with condescension. But she didn't stop there. Whispered concerns about Diana's well-being began to spread. "I'm worried about Diana," she confided to others. "She seems awfully sensitive. Maybe all this attention has become too much for her. Have you noticed how thin she looks lately? I do hope she's eating properly. Young women can be so peculiar about food." Even simple conversations about Diana's sleepless nights or her nervousness were spun with suspicion. "Charles has mentioned her trouble sleeping. I just hope those nerves aren't hereditary." Every comment, every piece of gossip was carefully shaped to make Diana seem fragile, unpredictable, and unfit for the challenges of royal life. But these efforts were just the beginning. The Queen Mother still held her most powerful tool, her influence over the palace staff. Soon, that control would explode into open defiance, an event remembered as the Servant Rebellion. By 1983, the Queen Mother skillfully used her influence to quietly turn the palace staff against Diana. For 40 years, the staff had been deeply loyal to the Queen Mother, following her every decision without question. She relied on this loyalty, subtly changing the mood around Diana. People who once welcomed Diana warmly became distant and formal almost overnight. Her requests were now often forgotten, delayed, or set aside in favor of old traditions. Even her personal comforts were overlooked, sacrificed for the sake of how things had always been done. When Diana confided in Charles about the cold indifference she felt, his response was dismissive. "That is simply how things are. The staff are creatures of habit. Diana, you just need to be more understanding." But what Charles didn't realize was that the entire ordeal was being masterminded by the grandmother he so admired. Every overlooked request, every cold shoulder, every bit of discomfort Diana faced, all of it had been carefully planned. Yet the Queen Mother's most ruthless move was reserved for those tasked with protecting Diana. She used her persuasive power to convince Diana's protection officers that the princess was fragile, difficult, and needed to be controlled, not truly protected. The line between care and containment quickly blurred, leaving Diana even more isolated within the palace walls. From that moment, Diana's most intimate moments, every tear, every late-night walk through Buckingham's shadowed halls, every private conversation were faithfully reported to the Queen Mother by the very people assigned to keep her safe. The palace became a fortress of solitude. Diana was trapped and watched from every corner, her confidantes now acting as spies for her adversary. But the Queen Mother wasn't finished yet. As Diana's star kept rising in the eyes of the public, another plan began to form, one that would later be called the Camilla conspiracy. This was the ultimate betrayal, reaching its chilling climax in 1986. With Diana and Charles's marriage starting to fall apart, the Queen Mother was ready to strike her most devastating blow. It wasn't enough to shatter Diana's sense of belonging. She was also determined to guide Charles back to a woman she completely trusted. For years, the Queen Mother had welcomed Camilla Parker Bowles into royal circles. Camilla was seasoned, sophisticated, and came from the right background. Most importantly, she understood the unspoken rules of royal life without question. She was everything Diana was not, so the Queen Mother set her final plan in motion. She encouraged Charles to rekindle a relationship that in truth had never really ended. She would say to him, "Charles, you seem out of sorts lately. Perhaps what you need is the company of someone who truly understands you." The Queen Mother would add, "Camilla has always been such a level-headed woman, not like these modern girls who believe marriage should be a never-ending romance. You know, my dear, throughout the centuries, kings have always had their own arrangements. For someone in your position, it's almost expected." When Diana discovered the truth about Charles and Camilla, she went to the Queen Mother, hoping for just a bit of understanding, a kind word from one woman to another. But instead, she was met with unyielding frost. "Diana, if you can't keep your husband content, perhaps it's time to look inward, rather than casting blame. Marriage is about fulfilling duties, not spinning fairy tales. You must face facts. Charles's role, and now yours, is about serving something greater than happiness." The message was unmistakable. Diana was at fault, not her husband's infidelity, but even this cold rejection would soon be overshadowed by the Queen Mother's most ruthless move, a calculated maneuver that used Diana's own children in her ongoing campaign. This strategy, known as the poisoning of the well, played out between 1987 and 1992. When William and Harry were born, Diana clung to a fragile hope. She believed that the Queen Mother's harshness might soften with the arrival of great-grandchildren, that family bonds might finally blossom. But the Queen Mother had very different plans. She didn't see the boys as bridges, but rather as pawns in her ongoing battle with Diana. She made a habit of questioning Diana's parenting, always quick to criticize with a tone of dismissive authority. "Diana is far too sentimental with those children. What they need is firmness, not indulgence. I honestly question her judgment with William and Harry. They're not just ordinary boys, they're heirs." She scoffed at Diana's efforts to show her sons glimpses of normal life, like trips to fast food restaurants or afternoons at amusement parks. "How terribly common," she would sneer. "They should be learning about service, not wasting time on childish amusements." More subtly, the Queen Mother started planting seeds of doubt in young minds. With gentle but purposeful words, she would take William and Harry aside. She'd say, "Your mother means well, but she doesn't understand our ways like we do. One day you'll see that being royal requires sacrifice. Your mother struggles with that idea. Just remember, your father's devotion to the country is something to admire." She'd quietly add, "I hope you grow to value your father more than some people do." Each softly spoken, calculated remark served one purpose: to quietly weaken Diana's connection with her sons. But nothing could have prepared the world for the Queen Mother's reaction to Diana's tragic end. Don't look away. What follows is both shocking and unexpected. On August 31st, 1997, as word reached Balmoral that Diana had died in a car crash, the world anticipated sorrow and compassion from the Queen Mother. After all, Diana was the mother of her great-grandchildren, a young life taken much too soon. Yet those privy to the palace's private moments share a different story. The Queen Mother's first words to her lady-in-waiting, it's reported, weren't words of grief, but of relief. Well, that is one problem solved. When courtiers urged her to make a public display of mourning, she stood her ground. "I will not pretend," she answered coolly. Diana brought upheaval and nearly shattered this monarchy. I feel for William and Harry, but I refuse to grieve for someone who frankly brought us nothing but difficulty. The Queen Mother's animosity ran so deep that even Diana's death could not thaw it. While mourners across the globe poured out their grief, and as the royal family felt mounting pressure to appear compassionate, the Queen Mother remained steadfast in her unfeeling approach. She spoke without a hint of emotion. "The boys will heal. Children are adaptable. Maybe at last they can be raised the right way." Away from Diana's flair for drama, Charles is now free to marry Camilla. Stability can finally return. The monarchy will be stronger, no longer disrupted by Diana's constant need for attention. For 16 years, her relentless vendetta had finally reached its bitter end. Diana was gone, and from the Queen Mother's perspective, order had been restored. But her apparent triumph would soon reveal itself as hollow a Pyrrhic victory, with consequences she could never have imagined. Between 1997 and 2002, the real cost of her crusade became clear. The Queen Mother realized too late that removing Diana had left the monarchy itself wounded. The royal family's cold response to Diana's passing triggered a massive wave of public outrage, shaking the very foundations of the palace and bringing Britain dangerously close to abandoning the monarchy. Instead of the quiet satisfaction she expected, the Queen Mother found herself facing a storm of backlash after Diana's death. The royal family's distant reaction drew unprecedented public criticism, threatening the very institution she had spent her life trying to protect. Even more bittersweet, William and Harry, her own great-grandchildren, once at the center of her hopes, grew emotionally distant. Their interactions with her became stiff and formal. There was beauty still, but the warmth was gone. For the Queen Mother, this was a wound that hurt deeper than any headline. Meanwhile, Diana's departure only magnified her legacy. The world mourned her as a modern martyr, her memory shining ever brighter. As the public celebrated Diana as a symbol of compassion, the Queen Mother came to represent in their eyes an outdated and unfeeling order. As her own final days approached, a sense of regret began to settle in. On March 30th, 2002, Queen Mother Elizabeth neared the end of her remarkable life at the age of 101. A priest came to her side and gently asked if she had any regrets. Those present remember her last clear words were about Diana. "I was mistaken about that Spencer girl. She was far stronger than I ever imagined." In the end, Diana claimed a victory that would outlive her. In her last moments, the Queen Mother seemed to realize the truth: William and Harry would never truly forgive the family for the pain their mother endured. The bond she once cherished with her great-grandchildren, her hope and her pride, slowly slipped away. It was lost because of choices she made in the name of duty. She truly believed she was protecting the crown, but in the end, those actions may have caused damage, threatening its very future. The Queen Mother left this world, haunted by the realization that her relentless campaign against Diana had dramatically backfired. When all excuses were stripped away, her hostility toward Diana was not really about duty, nor about tradition. At its heart, this was the story of a matriarch who refused to step aside for someone younger, someone cherished by the public, who brought a new sense of humanity to royalty. Her years of manipulation, psychological games, and carefully measured unkindness didn't just destroy Diana's happiness. They released a toxin that would linger within the royal family for generations to come. William and Harry's decision to step back from royal duties, their outspoken criticism of how their mother was treated, and their determination to pull the monarchy into the modern era, all of these choices trace back to what they witnessed as children. They saw their great-grandmother relentlessly dismantle Diana. The Queen Mother did reach her goal. Diana was no longer part of the royal family. But in achieving that, she lost much more. The institution she spent her life protecting ended up bearing the deepest wounds, marked by her own cold resolve. In the end, the hatred that ran so strongly through the generations was what destroyed it most of all. It swept through, destroying everything in its way, even turning on the very one who nurtured it most. Perhaps the most striking twist in this story is the sudden reversal of roles. For 16 years, the Queen Mother worked to orchestrate Diana's downfall, but in the end she lived to see Diana become what she herself once was: adored by millions, cherished as the heart of the royal family, and celebrated as a national icon. Meanwhile, the Queen Mother's own reputation remained overshadowed by her relentless campaign against Diana. In the end, the story had come full circle in a way no one could have expected. History doesn't remember her as the reassuring matriarch who helped guide the monarchy through the darkness of World War II. Instead, her image has shifted, now etched in public memory as the embittered elder who tormented a vibrant young mother simply because she shined too brightly in the public eye. In her attempts to bring Diana down, the Queen mother ended up shattering her own legacy. It's a harsh truth when you try to erase someone. You may find they become the very measure by which your own life is judged, and sometimes all that remains is that difficult reckoning.